Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Apex AMA. I'm your host, Lawton Ho, here with Verified Investing, and I go live every single day. The markets are open from 12:30 to from 12:30 to 1:15. How's everybody doing today? Welcome, everybody. So the way this works is you guys can go to the homepage of verifiedinvesting.com. And you can scan this code right here. You can scan this code to go to our homepage, submit your questions for me, whatever you want. If you want to know about, if you want to talk to me about different charts that you see, potential day trades, swing trades, cryptocurrency. If you want to talk about sports, happy to talk about sports. But I hope everybody's doing well. With that being said, what questions do you guys have for me? I hope you guys had a good day. Sorry about that. I was just checking something. Hope you guys had a good day. Something I do want to highlight, Bitcoin is currently breaking up and out, and is heading and has actually made new all-time highs. So if we take a look at the Bitcoin chart on the daily, look at this. Push past this, touched new all-time highs yesterday, barely briefly made it, but now look at this thing absolutely take off. Now for me, I've been talking about this for a long time, talking about Bitcoin with the potential to go higher. I previously drawn an inverse head and shoulders, something like this. Let me see. I think it was something like this. Something like this, right? But it was negated with this down move over here earlier in June, a couple of weeks ago. It was negated when it came down to just around $98,000. But now take a look at it. It is pushing higher. And you see this trend line that I draw, 1, 2. Where is the resistance? Likely up here around the high 115s, low 116s. Chris says, can you give your view of where MSTR are going based on the Bitcoin breakout now? That's a great question, Chris. So let's take a look at MSTR. MSTR, despite this Bitcoin breakout, MSTR is just sitting pretty, not doing a whole lot. That's actually pretty bearish for the stock, my opinion. But here's what I have. This resistance level, should MSTR come up to this $430.44 level, I expect a pullback, some resistance there. Bitcoin is continuing to make new highs as we speak, but MSTR is not even at the highs of the day. Right, that's pretty bearish for it. As far as Coinbase is concerned, Coinbase tells a different story. An absolute monstrous move. Look at this. What is this pattern called? It is called an inverse head and shoulders. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. And what's the measured move? All the way up here to around $420. Funnily enough, that is really close to the IPO highs. IPO highs just under $429. All that is to say, Coinbase for me, resistance, max upside is around this level, somewhere in this range, between 9 to 12% higher from here. Okay. As far as MSTR, you know what I think. Max upside for me is around 3% higher. Martin says, hey, Lawton, what's up? What's up, Martin? How are you doing? Good afternoon. I'm doing pretty good. Just had lunch, so if you hear me clearing my throat a million times, that's why. I was able to take 2 day trades today, 2 winning day trades. Happy with that. So Martin wants to know, how do you know if volume is good when looking for a trade? That depends on a day trade or a swing trade, right? It's pretty much the same for both, but let's take a look. Let me type in a random stock ticker, okay? APD. I've never looked at this before. And looking at the chart, you see all of these wicks are fully formed. Nice solid wicks, not too many gaps. This looks fine to trade for a swing trade, right? It's a random stock ticker. I've never traded before. But let's see if it would be a good stock to day trade. And look at that. You see all these little tiny gaps in here on this chart? No, this is not something that's good to day trade because look how many gaps. Like it's not connected whatsoever, right? Look how many things are missing. So also in a day trade, you can see here there is the volume over here, and then the average volume for a 30-day down here. So if you're looking for day trade, if it's a stock with that generally doesn't have a lot of volume, like Nvidia, you don't need to worry about it, right? Nvidia, you don't have to worry about the R vol or the average, the relative volume, right? And how that's determined is you divide the volume for the trading day, divide that by the average volume per day on the 30-day, and you'll find that anything above 1 is great. But just know that like if you're starting in the morning, yeah, of course you're going to have less volume than on an average full day for the past 30 days. But if you're already above it, that means there's a lot of volume in the stock. So if your swing trade stock looks something like this, it's also something I wouldn't trade. Like I'm typing random stocks. Yeah, this is on a daily chart. This is not something you can day trade. Look how insane this looks. Right? Not something that I would be comfortable trading. So that's how I kind of find volume. Mandy says, when you guys talk about a move is confirmed or not confirmed, what's the definition of a confirming move? That's an amazing question. Believe it or not, that's one of the most common questions that we receive here at Verified Investing. And unfortunately, I can't give you that answer just because it's proprietary information that Gareth has locked away in his course. So I can't tell you. Sorry. I'd love to give you the answer, and it's not terribly complicated, but I can't tell you. I wish I could, but I'd be happy to answer any other question that you had, Mandy. And so sorry that I can't answer that. If you want to find out, you can check out his course. My hands are bound. I'm handcuffed. Mike says, what is your take on the swing trade levels for CAT and RCL? Yeah, let's take a look at CATs. So Caterpillar CAT having a great move up. For me, I would consider starting position at the previous all-time high. And you're talking about 2% higher, right? So that is my first level of starting a short on Caterpillar. I wouldn't be too interested ahead of that. I mean, there definitely are levels of resistance, right? You have this previous high, which looks like it tagged today and pulled back from. So that was a good level. Could have been a good level. Actually, only kissed it. Didn't even hit it. So it didn't even hit it yet. So there's some resistance around there. But because we got so close, it kind of kissed it and then pulled back. That level's not going to be as strong. But from here to the all-time high, it's only 2% higher, right? You're likely going to pierce on that. So for me, on Caterpillar, I would be interested in potentially starting a short position on a pierce of the new all-time highs. As far as Royal Caribbean Cruises is concerned, on RCL, my level, and I talked about this yesterday as well. I said if you want to, and this is where I was yesterday, I said if you want to start a short position, you can start right here and look for a move down to here. and then I would stop out here just because I care about my risk to reward ratio for these swing trades. Like, this is my max loss 4%, but this is my target around 17%. So I would afford a 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio on this swing trade. With that being said, guys, what other questions do you guys have for me today? You can scan the QR code down below or visit the verifiedinvesting.com homepage to ask me any questions. And take a look at this. UAL is up significantly right now to 92.30, pulled back a bit. But the reason this is going up, right? It's up almost 15% today. Funnily enough, the reason why UAL is up is because United Airlines is up is because Delta had good earnings. I know it doesn't make sense, right? It's just a sympathy play. Like, let's look at DAL. Delta Airlines isn't even that far up. It's up only 11.5%, right? Delta is. But UAL is up 14.15. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yawning a little bit. So it's up as a sympathy play, and likely and the reason why, right, is because UAL from its highs, there were earnings here, it fell about 55%. So people are like euphoric about the stock. They're like, oh my God, I can go back up there. I can over double my money. Like, it's time to hop in. UAL doesn't have earnings for another 6 days, but yeah, it's just going to keep going higher. It's going to push higher, and we're going to be chilling. But yeah, for me on this UAL, this is just ridiculous. Really, really crazy move on this stock. Nathan says, what do you see on Regetti? Is it going higher or is it due for a pullback? Yeah, great question. So Regetti, it's hard for me to tell you if it's going to go higher or it's going to pull back, right? It's kind of in this middle area where you're still down 36% from the highs, and you're like, oh wow, 36% down from the highs, dude. That means that this thing can keep going, which it can, absolutely. But at the same time, it's up 95% from the Liberation Day lows. So if you've heard that a stock was down 36%, you're like, oh, this thing should go higher. But if you also heard that something is up 95% in like 2 months, you're like, okay, maybe this should pull back, right? That's kind of like, and it's just kind of in the middle there, just the fine line in the middle. If we go take this move to here, even to this low, you see we're trading right around the midpoint, right? Right in between, halfway in between the lows and the highs. So yeah, anyways, I can't tell you where it's going to go. I can just tell you where I expect a pullback or a bounce on Regetti. So I have these levels already for resistance on Regetti. Resistance levels are 9% higher around 1470. Again, here, 1532, these two high pivots. A third high pivot up here around 1622. And then you have amazing resistance up here at this gap fill around $18.39. As far as support, right, you have this nice green bar low over here from the other day, down 15% lower. You have a gap fill a little bit lower than that, around 1106, and a pivot low down here at 1030, right? So these are my levels for that I expect Regetti to bounce or have a pullback. Again, guys, if you have additional questions, just come to the verifiedinvesting.com homepage, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have for me. Belky says UNH, please. I'm assuming you're asking for UNH. So yeah, UNH fell significantly. This was falling off of earnings, but this was the CFO resigned, or CTO or whatever. For me, I wouldn't be interested in going long until this level, 292. The really good time, and it's easy for me to look back on the chart and say, we should have got in here. We should have gotten in right here. No, we should have gotten in any time after this, the day after. Why? The reason why is because this is a beautiful, basically bottoming tail on UNH on the daily. So I wouldn't be interested in a long until around this 292 level. On UNH. Chris says, do you see CoreWeave falling further before a pullback? What are your levels? Thank you. Do I see it falling further before a pullback? You mean before a bounce? Okay. CoreWeave, new company, IPO'd here in March. I'll give you my levels. The first decent level of support I see is a gap fill down here at around $140. You're talking about 4% lower from its current trading price. I expect a bounce there on CoreWeave. If it continues further, let's say you get in at that position, you can add over here at this gap fill at 120. It's about 14% lower. So it'll bring your average up nicely. You can add at this gap fill. You can just keep adding along the way. But these are my levels of support on CoreWeave. Now, it's important to remember that things that IPO that run like this generally pull back, and when they fall hard, right? Like we can just look at Reddit for an example, and I always go back to Reddit for this. In fact, this is going to be today's teachable moment. Still getting used to those things. Well, let's look at Reddit. Look how far it ran after it IPOs. It IPO'd, came down, and people absolutely loved it. Went up 48%, going absolutely ballistic, right? But look what happened afterwards. It fell significantly. Now with CoreWeave, it's a little different, right? A little different because CoreWeave has been around for a little bit longer, but the time it took between here and here, you're talking about like a month or so, but eventually fell. And now, of course, Reddit is all the way up here, right? All the way up here. But in general, when things IPO and there's a lot of excitement, it'll push. Everybody wants to get in. Everyone tells their parents, buy, this is the hot stock. And then what happens? Then it loses momentum and falls down. It's like the way to think about it, and a lot of these IPOs is like, think about an airplane, right? And think about what an airplane does when it stalls. When you fly an airplane, you don't just go straight up, right? You go up, and then maintain. But if you kept going up like this, eventually you'd run out of steam. And even after you run out of steam, you're kind of there a little bit. You can glide a little bit further, but then you turn and then fall. So, not that that's absolutely what's going to happen to CoreWeave, but you can see that. Additionally, you have a nice head and shoulders pattern here on this core weave, depending on how you want to draw it, right? Like you can draw it in a myriad of ways, but shoulder, head, shoulder, fall. Let's see the measured move from the top of core weave down. Your measured move is a move down about 27%, down to around 122.50. Right. So it could come down here to 112.58. Sohail says, "Hi, Lon, my friend. What's up, Sohail? My question is about crypto. What is the link? Swing trade." So let's look at link. What is the swing trade? It's a good question. You have all-time highs all the way up here around $53. Liberation debt lows down here around 10, 11. And a clear trend line that we see right here. Doom, doom. And pretty much kissed it, right? Kind of kissed it here. But pulled back from it here. So you have very well-defined trend line. 1, 2, kiss, and then a pullback from, right? This is a very, very, I'll move this slightly lower. Can I move this lower? It pulled back from here. Now look, it's starting to break out, link. So when a breakout happens, okay, when a breakout happens on a trend line, and I say this every single time, there are two places you can enter a trade on a breakout of a trend line. First off is just the initial close above, right here. You could have entered here. You'd be up about 4% right now. Or sometimes things go up, they retrace to that trend line, and then move higher. So you might have missed this move now. I don't like to chase things that have moved. So I would wait for link to come down. Should it hit this trend line, I expect a move higher. Tina says, "Good morning, Lawton. Hope all is well." What's up, Tina? Hope you're doing well. On the road, so services in and out. Thoughts for a swing trade on Biddy. Have a blessed day. Yeah, and if you're not able to watch the whole thing or your service is messed up, you can always go to YouTube and watch the replay. But let's take a look at Biddy. Biddy. So Biddy is a short, right? Is a short on Bitcoin. So because, and I covered this earlier, because Bitcoin is moving up, breaking out, also putting a potential additional head and shoulders pattern kind of here, right? Like this shoulder right here, this right shoulder is not the best one. It's still valid though, right? It's still valid. Let's see the measured move really quick. The measured move of this would be somewhere up to around the 120 level. But yeah, for me, I believe that Bitcoin has the potential to go a little higher to 115, 116 is kind of like my max target for this thing. If that were to happen, Biddy would come down significantly lower. So let's do this. This is ProShares short. So Biddy, yeah, all right. Okay, so for me, I think Bitcoin could go about 2 or 3% higher, and that means that I believe that Biddy could come down Biddy could come a little bit lower, so maybe $1.25 lower. So maybe around 17.50. I'd consider entering along on Biddy, but it's hard to tell you what exactly the price translation is going to be. What I would do in your case, Tina, is I would take a look at Bitcoin, look at this chart, see, okay, one round 15, 115, 116, that's where I expect a pullback. So when it gets to that level, then inching on Biddy, whatever the price may be. Okay. I hope that can help, Tina. So Hal says, thanks, Lon. You're welcome. If you have any more questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Martin says, how long did it take you to know how to draw trend lines? The RSI for day trading, on which time frame do you place the most emphasis? How long did it take for you to become a profitable trader? Tons and tons of questions there, Martin. So first off, let's start with the first one. How long did it take you to know how to draw trend lines? They're kind of like an intuitive thing. You just it comes with experience, right? You start drawing trend lines, you just play around the charts. And here's the great thing, right? Trading View is totally free. So you can go there, draw some trend lines, see how they work out, and you see it and you're like, oh, this is bullish. This looks bullish, and then you see if it works out or not, and then you readjust your trend line, right? When I take a look at a chart, like Sohel drew this, before I saw any of this, right? Before I saw anything, as soon as I looked at the chart, immediately I saw a couple things. I saw two main things. I saw an inverse head and shoulders here, and I can just picture a trend line here. And I saw this beautiful trend line up here that I did end up drawing, right? This trend line. I saw it in my mind before I even draw it, just because I saw the way the pivots were were set up. So that's the first thing I did. You just got to train your brain. And I know it's not difficult. I know it's difficult, excuse me, and it seems like it'll take you forever to learn, but I promise you that you can do it, right? And just let's go back and look at this beautiful inverse head and shoulders. See the measured move of this inverse head and shoulders. It's going to be way higher than it actually went. Yeah, measured move is all the way up here to 2062. And let's see, and look at that. And this is what I mean. This is what I mean about a retrace. Let's say I missed this move up. It came back down to a retrace of this trend line, just like I drew here. I'm like salivating because this is like so epic. Retrace to this trend line perfectly. And look at this, another bounce, 16% move from there. Like it doesn't get any better than that, right? Look at that. Doom, boosh. Crazy. Absolutely incredible. But anyways, you have this have this in your charts. I'm going to be live for the next 15 minutes, guys. If you guys have any additional questions, please send them in. I'd be happy to answer your questions. But I just had to share that. I just thought that was so cool. Let's see here. Gene says, what is your opinion on the overall market for the next couple of months? Bullish or bearish? Sentiment changes daily. When is that reset going to take place? So in general, I am bearish on the markets, right? I think that we are due for a correction. We did have one on Liberation Day. Right, let's take a look at the S&P. Right, look at that. Big pull down after Trump announced tariffs, right? The Liberation Day tariffs. But look at this. We've continued higher and are even, let's see this. We're actually trading like 2% higher than the pre-liberation day level highs, the previous all-time highs. And we haven't had any trade deals yet. We're likely going to go into a recession, right? To recession. And I think that we're due for another pullback, right? If not a larger one. So my sentiment is bearish. My sentiment isn't changing, but I'm bearish. And if you gave me like a couple months out, like by the end of the year, I expect us to be below all-time highs for sure. Chris says, do you think we'll have an alt season with this Bitcoin breakout, or will upsides on alts be limited? It remains to be seen. I'm in a couple longs in some of the alts, namely Biddy. I am long this right now. My entry right now is $320. My target is 370.72. So let's see if we can get up there. But I'm long on this just because it looked bullish, had this kind of like wedge, down sloping trend line. Was waiting for this break, and it did yesterday. And because Bitcoin looks so bullish, right? I expect the alts to follow, but as far as an alt season, I wouldn't be able to tell you if I'm not sure that that's something that will happen. And my sentiment might change always, but just know that like a lot of these alts, like even like Ethereum, right? Look how far down it is from its all-time highs, right? Look how far down it's from its all-time highs. XRP, look how far down it is from its all-time highs. And look, breaking out of this wedge beautifully. I said the same exact thing. You either get in at a break of this wedge, a break of this trend line, or on a retrace. And look at XRP go. My upside target would be around here, this $2.65 level. Martin says that is awesome on Link. Yeah, it is. It was incredible, awesome to see. As we're moving towards the end of our session today, guys, we're gonna play a game as always called the rapid fire round. And the way that works is you guys send me charts, right? Whatever charts, bullish or bearish, for the rapid fire, and I'll give you a quick bullish or bearish on anything you guys want. So if you want to participate at home, go ahead and scan that QR code on the bottom left and let me know what chart you want me to take a look at, bullish or bearish. If you don't want to participate or you can't think of anything, that's cool too. I don't mind just sitting and hanging out with you guys. But as we wait for some more questions for this bullish or bearish rapid fire segment to come in, I can just talk to you guys. Let's take a look at the rest of the markets right now. The S&P making potential new highs of the day. Yep, just made new highs of the day. Wonder if those were all-time highs. Not quite, but still making new highs of the day. Let's see how UAL is doing. The fact that this is up is so ridiculous still, right? It's unfathomable why a airline stock should be up 15% off of news that a different airline is up. Like, how crazy is that? Yeah, just absolutely insane. Let's see how SLXS is doing. 16 times. Netflix had quite a good down day today, down about 2.5%. And this was my level, right? This was my level to short Netflix as far as a swing trade. And this was answered in my AMA a while ago. But I drew this trend line through here, kissed here, hit here, and look at this. Pierced it, and then fell back down. And now is breaking these key support levels of the previous all-time high over here. Broke this level here, and is kind of tumbling down. My support or target to the downside on Netflix is around $1,100 on Bitcoin. All right, guys, it's time for the rapid fire round. So the way this works is we have about 8 or 9 minutes left. So let's hop into the charts and answer these questions. All right, Chris says, Pengu, more upside or to go or due for a pullback soon? Pengu, excuse me. This Pengu had this inverse, had this head and shoulders pattern, fell down, now has had a great move up, particularly today. Was up actually at the peak around 32%. And why could that be? Because of Bitcoin. So for me on Pengu, here is where I expect a pullback. Boom, boom. These are my levels for resistance on Pengu. I think with that being said, I think it could go a little bit higher, maybe 10 or 11% higher before facing a pullback again. These are my levels of resistance. It cleared these other levels of resistance. But you could also look to try and draw a trend line. See a potential level for more of a pullback. Somewhere around here. Look at that. You have this nice trend line that coincides with this great level here. This is X marks the spot. This is where I think Pengu will pull back. All right, Nathan says WRD. Let's go. All right, 7 minutes on the clock. So WRD, we ride is down low. I'm anticipating a bounce. Looks like it favors a move higher, right? For me on we ride, here are my levels of resistance, right? Do I think this favors a move higher? Yes, I believe that we ride does favor a move up, but where is it going to run into resistance? It's going to run into resistance here around 9. This moved a little, 934, 975, and 1045. Just know that with these small companies, especially ones that are like almost meme stocks, right? Pseudo meme stock, like not that it's not a real company, but it's a pseudo meme stock, right? Just because the way it moves, any little bit of positive news, this thing is going up 30% in a day, right? But with that being said, any bit of bad news and the opposite can happen as well. But as far as we read, this would be my targets for a move to the upside. Next question, Stock Trading Diary says, bullish or bearish, TMC. TMC, metals company. Not something I've traded before, but I can tell you from the charts, small company. Looks like, and I'm still waiting for a pattern to form on this. You could say this is actually bullish consolidation. So if I had to pick one, I would say bullish, BB, BlackBerry Limited. Okay, BlackBerry was going to earnings. I actually thought it was going to do well into earnings, and it did. It went up 23% off of earnings. Has pulled back below that level since then. Since then, I believe that it favors a move to the upside. So I'm actually kind of bullish on this, but I'm not bullish from this level. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. I think that it'll come a little bit lower, maybe down here to this gap window at around $3.85. This keeps happening. Somebody keeps disconnecting me. 35. So about 7% lower before having a move up. Right. So I anticipate around 385 is where it may come down before getting a bounce. Okay. Hood, as far as Hood is concerned, 5 minutes on the clock. I'm bearish on Hood. Hood is kind of, I think it favors a pullback. But I will say that this is kind of bullish consolidation. Could be putting in a bull flag, right? Could be putting a bull flag. What we want to see is something like this, right? We want to see, and technically you could say this is, maybe a head and shoulders pattern. Not a great one, right? Like, let's see. Let's see if tomorrow comes down. That's a really small head and shoulders pattern, like saying that this is shoulder, head, and like shoulder. That's still a valid head and shoulders pattern, not a great one. What we want to see if you're looking to short Hood is the formation of a bearish pattern, but this is bullish, a bull flag. But despite that, I still think it favors a move to the downside because it is so terribly overextended. Bucky says, how low can NVIDIA go in the next weeks? I have no idea. I wish I was a magician. I wish I was a genie, and I wish I had a crystal ball that worked. But I can tell you for me, for NVIDIA, it would likely bounce here around 145 and again at 144.16. Those are the two levels that I think in the next few weeks, if we see a decent sell-off, 148 and 144.16 are the levels for a bounce. Next question. Mandy says, Novo and Eli Lilly. Thanks, Lawton. Absolutely. Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk. Novo. NVX. Is it? I'm having like a stroke trying to remember. Novo Nordisk. Remembering the ticker. NVO, right? Yeah, Novo Nordisk. Okay, got it. These are the Ozempic guys. The guys that came up with Ozempic actually looks bullish, right? Kind of breaking out. First resistance is up here, but I think there should be no problem if there's good news. With these major pharmaceutical companies, you're expecting, if there's any positive news, this is going to pop. We know that the tariffs that Trump announced on the healthcare sector, pharmaceuticals in particular, are causing it to be the stocks to come down. But, right, when you consider that a lot of times Trump has threatened tariffs on things and it ended up not being as bad, right, or ended up being postponed a bit, right, you're looking for things to kind of bounce back. So for me, these are my upside targets for Novo Nordisk, LLY, Eli Lilly. This is something kind of similar, right? Kind of similar. It came down off of Trump's announcing his thing. It's tariffs. I think this favors a move to the upside. Still pretty beaten down. If I wanted to draw a trend line, I could do so around here. And this is still a ways away, but if you can break this down sloping trend line, it will be extremely bullish for LLY. Last question, Martin. Running out of breath. Just because I'm talking really quick. So on KO, Coca-Cola, is this bullish or bearish? I mean, you've had quite a run from 2023, but went all the way up around 44%. This is not the biggest mover, right? We saw on Liberation Day lows, it actually pushed up higher, made new highs, right? So for me, it's still talking only 6% off from its all-time highs. I think this could potentially fall lower, but this is not a stock that moves terribly much, right? This is not a stock that moves much at all. So 68.81 is where I expected to get a potential bounce. And of course, you have these other levels here as far as this Liberation Day low and this beautiful gap fill right here around $64.50. 57 cents. That's it. That's the end of the rapid fire round, and that's also the end of the AMA. Thank you guys so much for joining me again, guys. I'm going to be live tomorrow from 12:30 to 1:15 again. And my name is Lawton Ho here with Verified Investing. And if you guys have any additional questions or have specific charts you want me to take a look at, but I'm not currently live or I didn't get a chance to answer your questions, I'd be more than happy to do so. You can submit them to me on Twitter at Lawton Investing, right here on Twitter at Lawton Investing. You can just send me a DM. I'll do my best to answer them in a timely manner, but I don't always see it. If you really want to get an answer, you can just mention me, just at me in a tweet. And I'll see it. But if you DM me, I check my DMs about a couple times a day. So I might not get it right away. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you for being a part of my show. Hope you guys had as much fun as I had. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.